All right, we are going to welcome in our guest, Mark Rogers. How you doing tonight, Mark?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on, man. It's a blast. All right, so let's just start right at the beginning where I met you, I guess. We beat Shivers in the first round of the playoffs, and we go to Mount Ararat, and we're going against this freshman. We're like, yeah, we should be all right. Little do we know this freshman was throwing 93, 94 at the time and making us look foolish. So I told Mark the story right before it came on, and he throws me a fastball down the middle. I take it. I foul the second one straight back, and I go, I'm in trouble now. I'm down 0-2. And he throws me a breaking ball right at my head. I bail on it and just walk straight back to the dugout, and I get rung up for strike 3. But just kind of talk about your high school career and when you knew that you had something.
Well, my high school career was very fun. I got to play with a lot of guys I grew up with, so I was fortunate in that aspect of the game. I was very comfortable with my teammates, and we were all comfortable playing with each other. So that was the camaraderie was pretty good, which made it easier. And because I played with those kids since I was 18 years old, so it was really comfortable. And then by the time I got to high school, we all developed a little bit and started rooting for each other, and had some kids transfer into the school that were good. Like one of my best friends was Andy Cantrell. He came over from Brunswick, and funny story about Andy, he actually beat me, I think, my sophomore year when he was at Brunswick pitching against me. So he loves to tell that story that's his favorite memory, is beating me in high school. But so sometimes I got hit, but high school was different. It was different than the big leagues or the minor leagues in a lot of ways, because you weren't competing against your teammates to try to get to the next level. So it was really fun, and I missed that until I got back to the big leagues where we were all a team again.
Yeah. So I said it before, but you, Charlie Furbush, Ryan Flaherty, and Ryan Reed were kind of the 4 Mainers that really started to put Maine baseball on the map. Like, hey, there's talent here that just didn't never seem to be recognized, I guess, nationally. And we saw that when the state championship got flexed to Hadlock Field and you guys sold the place out. Kind of relive that memory if you want.
That was a crazy memory. That was a crazy time in Maine baseball. I couldn't believe. I remember the year before we had played Deering in the state final, and we played at Mansfield up in Bangor, and that place being sold out was pretty impressive for us, being high school kids. And then when we heard that there was so much interest in the game that they wanted to move it to Hadlock, I thought that was really neat as well. And then I was able to pitch because they bumped the game back a couple days, because I think we were supposed to play them in 3 days, so I wasn't eligible to pitch after the Eastern Maine championship game. But where they moved it to Hadlock, I was able to pitch, so it gave us, what we thought was a better chance to win the game. We ultimately ended up losing to Deering, which was, blessed with some good players too. I mean, Flaherty's a great player, Giobbe, like we talked about before, DeAndrea, and obviously Ryan Reed is a great pitcher who got his time in the big leagues and played in the minors for a really long time. So, there's a bunch of talent in that game, and Maine baseball, I think we're kind of undervalued because the season is so short. I was talking to one of my friends on Facebook the other day, and he was like, "Season in Maine is so short. It's tough to really, get somewhere in baseball, and you gotta get noticed, I think, at the right time, but." I wish the season here could be a little bit longer, so some more guys could get the opportunity to be seen, because there's a lot of good baseball here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my junior year was dreadful because it's a 16-game season. So
Yeah.
if you start 0 for 8, your season's done. Average is toast, and you're finished. You don't have a chance to get it back. That's a great point.
Yeah. Did you? So obviously, back in our era, Mark, we didn't have the benefit of all the social media and how easy it was to share video with scouts and all that. How did you get discovered? Did you go to the various training events, or did people come to you?
Oh, I was extremely fortunate. I got invited to the East Coast Showcase in Wilmington, North Carolina, actually, and I was good friends with Dale Plummer. He kind of tutored me my whole life on baseball, and he played minor league with the Mets for a long time. Got to AAA, so Dale kind of got in touch with the people he knew, as I was working with him, and said, "Hey, this kid needs to be seen by somebody. I think he's pretty special." So he kind of stuck his arm out there for me and stuck his neck out there for me. I mean, and so I got that invite to the East Coast Professional Showcase, and from there I went to the area codes out in California, and that was between my junior and senior year of high school. So it was really for those guys, Steve Springer and Don Mitchell and Dale Plummer. They really kind of got the ball rolling for me and got some eyes on me and got me out of the state where some scouts would, hopefully notice my talent. And I just knew when I got invited to North Carolina, that was a big opportunity for me, and I needed to make the most of it. So I trained as much as I could, tried to be as prepared as I could. And I remember my first warm-up pitches were like 98, 99, and 100. And they were like, "Oh crap, we didn't even know who this kid was." And now all of a sudden I was on the map that quickly. So it can happen that fast.
That's awesome. I have a lot of personal connection to Dale Plummer too. I did a lot of his winter academies just to keep me playing throughout the winter. And that really did put me ahead, like especially in Southern Maine baseball, because I was one of the few kids that was playing year round at that time. So I mean, I owe a lot of my college success, my baseball career success to Dale too. So pretty cool to hear that he's connected with other players as well.
Oh yeah, Dale's a great person. He's done a lot for baseball in Maine, and I remember those Dale Plummer baseball academies.
Oh yeah,
he did them in high school in Bath, and he'd do them all over the place, and it was great. It did give you a leg up come spring. I felt like I was a little more prepared, and it was also nice to have a little break from hockey. I see so many kids now specific, and they're so sports specific, and they're so tuned in on one sport. I think that might have burned me out a little bit. It was always nice to have, a night off of hockey practice to go play baseball in the middle of winter.
Yeah, amen to that. For you, Mark, where did the velocity come from? When did you start to notice you could bring it at, low 90s, mid 90s, high 90s? Like when did that show up for you?
My freshman year of high school, I think, is when I got into the low 90s, like you guys were talking about earlier on the show. And I noticed that I went to the Atlanta Braves local tryout every year in Augusta. And I remember the Stewarts were the scouts that were involved with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he's with the Pittsburgh Pirates now. He was with the Braves at the time. And he told me, "You're very special. Don't change." He's like, "Whatever is making this velocity, we'll never really know, but it naturally comes out of you. So don't change." And then I met Alan Jaeger, and I start doing armbands and the long toss programs, and my velocity kept creeping up a little bit. And then that same junior year of high school, before my senior year of high school, I started doing the armbands in the wintertime and trying to lengthen out how far I was throwing the ball, and my velocity jumped up quite a bit.
That's what I did wrong. I could have gotten to 74.
Hey, you never know, man. As hard as these guys throw nowadays, that might be something different that they wouldn't want to see.
Yeah, it's wild what they're throwing. So let's touch on that real quick, since we're kind of talking about velocity. I mean, all these guys are throwing triple digits. Are you I don't know how to phrase this question. Max effort guy, like, are you for that and just get as much as I can get out of my arm at any given time? Or do you think that they should dial it back and learn how to pitch to kind of maybe lengthen their career? Where do you kind of stand on that?
I think that you got to make your best effort to get the guy out every pitch, especially in professional sports. And now with the way the college level is, I think it's the same thing. There's a lot of there's a lot on the line every pitch, so I think you should be giving it 100% every time. And it's hard to see somebody back off of it, just because it's say the sixth inning and you're up by 3 or 4. It's like, and nowadays the home run is as prevalent as the 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So you can get back in the game so quickly. It's like I feel like you got to bring it every pitch.
That's a good point. I guess I've never really thought of it that way, but that's incredible.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So high school is now over. You get drafted in the first round, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was drafted in the first round, 5th overall by the Brewers, and they made a very easy decision for me. I was supposed to go to the University of Miami on a scholarship to play baseball, but when the Brewers came in where they did, I was like, "Oh, this is the opportunity I want to take." And based on where they were at in their farm system and at the major league level, I was like, this would be a great place for me to get to the major leagues and establish myself and hopefully have a long career.
That's awesome. So where's our first stop in the minors then?
The first time with minors out of high school was Arizona. It was Maryvale, Arizona, where the Brewers spring training facility is.
Okay. And then
Eye-opening.
Was it? So yeah, talk about that experience a little bit.
It was eye-opening. It was all baseball, 100% baseball all the time, which was crazy for me. I was a three-sport athlete in high school, playing soccer, hockey, and baseball. So I was like, wow, this is a lot of baseball. We'd be at the park early, at like noontime for a 7 o'clock game, and it was 115 degrees in the Phoenix area. And I was like, what did I do to myself? But I quickly got some tutelage on what it meant to be a professional baseball player, not a high school baseball player anymore. And they kind of ran me through the ringer there in Phoenix for a while. And then my first stop in affiliated ball was with the West Virginia Power in A ball.
Oh, cool.
What's
Oh, go ahead, Harrison.
I'll say, what's the response like, Mark, when you walk in on day one? You're the 5th overall pick. You're a kid from Maine who probably half these guys don't even know where that is on a map. What is the reception when you walk in the door and start talking to guys? What do they think about you?
Initially, I was a little concerned that I would be treated differently because of where I was drafted. I thought there might be animosity or something like that, but I was fortunate with the Brewers. They had some guys there rehabbing. Mike Jones was one of them, and who was a former first rounder who had a shoulder operation as well, and a few guys that had been around the big leagues for a little bit that were rehabbing there, and they kind of took me under their wing. And when the other guys saw that it was the whole call me a first rounder or a prima donna and or money, all the money stuff kind of ended at that point when they saw the older guys kind of take me in and take care of me. And I learned very quickly that if you take care of the people around you, that they'll take care of you as well. So that the whole mystique of being a first rounder was awesome, but I also thought that I might be judged for it, and ultimately I wasn't there, which was really cool. And I think that I attribute that to the veteran guys that were there who were rehabbing at the time in Phoenix and kind of showed me the way.
That's awesome. How about like the level of coaching that you get at a major league complex versus what you got in Maine? I mean, it's got to be a little bit different.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I think there's a fine line when it comes to coaching. But as a kid, I was so enamored with the fact that these guys had played in the big leagues and their background that I was so willing to listen. I was willing to change maybe too much. You know what I mean? Like I was excited for the opportunity to have the coaching, and it's almost like I dove in too far. Like I wanted to be too perfect. You know what I mean? I wanted to have perfect mechanics. I wanted everything to be perfect, and that wasn't the case. I don't think that's what they were trying to coach me on, was to be perfect. But ultimately, the competitor in me was like, okay, if that's the best way to do it, then that's the way I'm going to try to do it. And I think that kind of hurt me in the end. I was more worried about, the mechanics of throwing instead of, focusing on what's happening at home plate and getting the hitter out.
Yeah. All right. So you're at West Virginia, then you get up to high A rookie in like 2006.
Yeah, in 2006, I was with the Brevard County Manatees in high A ball, and that's where I got hurt and tore my labrum for the first time. And I think July of that year, had a shoulder operation.
Yeah, so kind of walk us through that, like if you had any setbacks and like what the kind of injury did for you in your career.
Well, first thing, I think mentally it was a kind of a kick to the groin, because I thought that, like I was saying earlier, going to Milwaukee, I'd have a good chance to get to the big leagues quickly, with their farm system and pitching staff. I was like, I'll have a good chance to pitch. And I was throwing the ball well in Florida. I finally figured out what they wanted me to do mechanically. I figured out my secondary pitches. I started throwing a slider instead of the curveball, because the mechanical changes kind of took the curveball. Like you said earlier, I used to throw it at the hitter, and it was like more of a sweep or slurve, and they wanted the more downer curve. And so it was different for me. And then so I learned how to throw that slider, and then my shoulder blew up shortly after that. And I don't really know why, but I think it was just I wasn't used to throwing those pitches from that arm slot, and eventually I kind of blew up. But it happens. It could have happened if I never changed my mechanics, the way I look at it. And then so I had the first surgery in Fort Worth, Texas. Dr. Conway did my surgery. He was with the Rangers at the time. He was their team doctor, and it was a pretty extensive surgery. I remember I was supposed to be under for like 3 hours, and I was under for like 6 hours. And I had to have the top of my labrum. It was a bucket handle tear of my labrum, so I had to have 4 stitches put in the bottom of my labrum, and then two permanent stitches put in the top of my labrum to put it back together. And I put down a ton of scar tissue, Tried to start throwing again, and it just wasn't the same. I remember I was throwing like 86 and really struggling for it, and it hurt every time. So I was like, guys, this isn't working. So I went in and had a second surgery to clean up the first surgery, and there was a lot of scar tissue, and I guess there wasn't a lot of space for the humeral head in my shoulder to move around with all the inflammation. So they trimmed me up and shaved me down, and about 6 weeks, 8 weeks after that, I started throwing again and felt completely different. And I was like, oh wow, I really have a chance again. Because for a while after that first surgery, I was like, I'm never going to be able to pitch again. This is without another surgery or a miracle. I'm going to need to find a secondary career real quick. And yeah, and those are the thoughts that were going through my head. And then after that second surgery, about 8 weeks later, I remember I was with our physical therapist, Kenny Patterson, and who was a legend in my opinion. Those guys who can get people back from these surgeries, or these physical therapists we have nowadays, are so educated and so unbelievable with their hands, and what they're able to tell you about the human body and what to do to get it to perform at its best is incredible. So I really tried to focus on what he was telling me, and about 8 weeks after that, I was throwing again, felt really good. And then the next year, 2009, I was able to make a comeback and went back to Brevard to high A. And I had like a 1.6 that year for the year I was on a pitch count. And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, I can actually throw the ball again. I feel like myself again. And baseball's back, because missing it was really tough. I'm watching all my friends that I'd been drafted with, like Giovanni Gallardo became a great friend of mine. He was a second rounder the year I got picked, and he became the ace of the staff very quickly. So I'm watching him go to the big leagues, and I'm talking to him every day, and he's like, you just keep going, man. You keep plugging away. And the next year, I think he tore his ACL in Chicago, but he's like, it's worth it. It's worth the struggle. Any struggle you've been through, getting to here is worth it. And I'm sure. Yeah. So yeah, he became a really good friend of mine, and kind of inspired me to keep plugging along. And then I went to AA, I believe, the next year in Huntsville, Alabama, and got my first call up later that year in 2010.
Yeah, that's it. That's incredible. So we got a question from Chad. What advice would you give guys coming back from injury to be able to return to form?
I think one of them is to be persistent. It gets really monotonous and difficult to do the same things every day, to try to strengthen your arm or your knee, or like you were talking about. I'm sure you come back from your ACL surgery was hell at times. Yeah. But I'd say just to stick with it, deal with the monotony of it, and find a good physical therapist that you trust, who can educate you on what's happening, on a day-to-day basis inside your body. Because like I was saying with Kenny Patterson, he was able to hold my arm and mess with it and feel do strength tests and do things like that, and really feel what was happening inside my shoulder. And he was a big advocate for me having the second surgery, which is ultimately why I got to play in the big leagues and have the career I had. And so I'd say find a good therapist who can help you, because there's a lot of it is in your head when you're hurt. I think so much of it is what you're thinking about, and you're anticipating the pain, and it's something that's constantly on your mind. So it can really creep into your head. Pain can really creep into your head. So I think finding a way, maybe a sports psychologist is another good option nowadays, because getting that stuff out of your head, being able to perform without the stress of it, or the PTSD of it, anticipating the pain is just as important as being pain-free itself.
Yeah, for me, when I was coming back from my ACL, it wasn't the pain as more as like not fully trusting it, I guess, was more the psychological thing I had to get by.
Oh, I totally believe it. That was 90% of it for me too. After the second surgery, when the pain was gone, it was getting the ball in my hand and not expecting it to hurt. For so long, I'd get to take the ball out of my glove and anticipate starting to go forward with my arm, and my shoulder starting to hurt. So I remember Jim Rooney telling me, Mark, it's in your head. You got to get it out of your head. Just trust the fact that, so that's easier said than done right now. I'm expecting it to hurt. Well, it looks like it. You're throwing like it. And that was enough to motivate me. He's like, yeah, it looks like it, man. You're not even throwing the ball. You're just pushing it down there.
Was there a particular pitch, or was there a particular kind of number of pitches that was kind of a roadblock for you, that was the toughest to come back from, to really let go?
I think it was a fastball, honestly, because I put so much effort into my fastball and really relied on it as my number one pitch, that I try to put a lot of velocity on it. And I threw a lot of sinkers, and a lot of time a two-seamer is a little bit slower than a four-seamer, but so I really tried to put a lot of effort into my pitching. So the fastball was probably the hardest. The sliders seemed to come easily, and the changeup seemed to come back easier as soon as I trusted my fastball. And for a long time, I didn't trust it when I was coming back from the first surgery, and I ended up being erratic walking people. And when the games where I walk people, I think were the days where, like you were talking about earlier, I didn't trust it. It was a psychological thing where I was anticipating something that wasn't going to happen. It was like those phantom pains that are so hard to get over.
Yeah. All right. So we make the bigs. First major league strikeout. Who is it?
First major league strikeout was in some Marlins in 2010, and I remember actually first major league strikeout was against the Cubs in 2010. I came on and struck out Micah Hoffpower in relief, and my first major league start was against Marlins. I remember facing Cameron Maben and Chad Tracy. I think Chad Tracy was my first strikeout that game, but Micah Hoffpower was my first one against the Cubs in 2010 in relief. But first to start was Hoffpower.
And you struck out the side, I think, against the Marlins, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did. I think I walked. I think I hit Maben and walked 2 others, and then struck out the side. So I had two walks. I hit Bassman and 3 strikeouts in my first start.
Whatever.
Good recovery.
Got through it.
Yeah. So 2011. So we made it in 2010, and then we don't get back up until 2012. So what was kind of going on in between 2010 2012?
Well, this was one of the ones that hurt the most. I had bilateral carpal tunnel surgery. So I go to start the season in 2011. I'm feeling good, and I think I got a chance to make the team. And I'm holding the baseball in my hand, and the seams just don't feel right. And I keep changing how I'm holding it, and I'm like, guys, this doesn't feel right. And I'm talking to the trainers and the pitching coaches, and they're all like, and the ball's coming out of my hand good, and they just progressively got worse and worse. And I went to see a hand specialist, a hand surgeon in Milwaukee and in Phoenix, Arizona, because it was right during spring training. And they were like, you have carpal tunnel. And I was like, how can I have carpal tunnel? I'm 25 years old. There's no way I can have carpal tunnel surgery, right? And they go, well, it's in your left wrist as well. It wasn't just my right hand. So I was like, well, get them both done at the same time because I want this over with. So I tried to pitch in AAA the beginning of 2011 with my hands the way they were. And I was like, I can't feel the ball, guys. This is really strange. So I had surgery and immediately could feel again. And in 2012, found my way back to Nashville and then back to the big leagues.
Huh. So it's just like all feeling just went away in your hands at all, like completely.
Yeah, it was like I fell asleep on my hand.
Weird.
It was so weird. It was a carpal tunnel, and it was painful too. Sometimes I'd throw, and I'd get these pains like down my middle finger, index finger, and thumb that were like electricity kind of feelings. I was like, something is wrong. I guess I was hitting the nerve, and they needed some space to move through the carpal tunnels. The tendons needed to be able to move through the carpal tunnels. And Dr. Sheraton went in my hands and fixed me up. And it took me a long time to recover from it, but it wasn't as bad as the shoulder, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So is that a feeling that was like getting worse over time, or you just like woke up one morning and nothing felt right?
I think it got worse over time. I think people who have carpal tunnel know this. I'd even wear braces at night when I was sleeping because at night, I guess when your arms get in different positions, it makes the carpal tunnel worse, or when your hands are above your heart. And so I'd sleep with braces on because anytime your hand kinked or in any kind of way, it would be like you slept on it for a very long time. So it was something that progressively got worse, and something that for a long time I couldn't believe. And I was like, there's no way there's something wrong with my hands. I just came back from the shoulder thing. Like, what could I have possibly done to mess my hands up? It doesn't even make sense. But then I had the nerve tests and all that stuff done, and they were like, no, so you've done something in there. So I don't know how it happened, but my grandfather and grandmother both had the surgery, so they thought it might have been a genetic thing. I'm not sure. I'm just born with small tunnels going into my hands.
Wow. Big fastball, small tunnels.
Big fastball, small tunnels. Yeah, big hands, small tunnels.
Man. All right, so 2012, you start 7 games. Is there any moment that kind of sticks out to you? Like, what was your welcome to the big leagues moment? I guess I'll ask. It can be 2010 or 2012.
Oh, definitely. I remember one welcome to the big leagues moment in 2012 that jumps out to me. I called up from Nashville, and I had started the year all right. I was kind of up and down at times, and I remember getting my velocity back in Nashville, and I got the call, and I was going to pitch a day game against the Nationals. the next day. So I scratched my start in Nashville, and so I'm going on 6 days rest in Milwaukee, a noontime game, and it's nationally televised. So I'm all amped up for it. I'm like, all right, I got called back up. Things are going well, and I fall behind Lombardozzi 3-1 to start the very first hitter of the first inning. I fall behind 3-1. So I groove him a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and he hit it to the moon in right field. And I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, this is great. Couldn't pop them up or something. So all of a sudden it's 1-0 with a homer, and I haven't got anybody out yet, and I haven't thrown many strikes. So I better, and Bryce Harper's coming up hitting second. I'm like, this ought to be good. So, so I had to settle in really quickly, and I ended up striking Harper out, and it pops a couple guys up, got out of the inning. But I remember my heart beating out of my chest that first hitter. I was like, telling you earlier, I was watching the girls' championship game today on TV, and it's impressive how well these kids are able to channel their emotions nowadays, because it's easy for them to let your emotions get the best of you.
Yeah, we've been talking about that with like all the young kids around the MLB right now. I mean, it is crazy how they're just coming up, and it doesn't seem like the stage is too big for them, and they're just making immediate impacts. It's wild to us. It's just like week after week, we're seeing somebody new come up and just, go 4 for 5 with 2 homers. And it's like, this, you're not supposed to do that. Like, this is your first MLB game. What the heck?
They look very comfortable, don't they?
Yeah.
It's got to be a tribute to the coaching and the managers there, and the system they have in place, because these guys coming up sure do look good. Like that kid who just came up in Pittsburgh, the #1 prospect overall. He looks comfortable in spring training, and he sure looks comfortable in the big stage.
Yeah, it also helps. He's the 3 of us wide, standing next to each other. The kid's a monster.
Yeah, he is.
And when you've got 9 years, $140 million worth of security, you can get comfortable pretty quick too.
I think that provides some comfort, yes.
But along those same lines, Mark, like how as a young kid, from Maine, where you were playing in front of 25 people at a home game, how do you adjust to life in the big leagues when you got there quickly, didn't spend a lot of time in the minors, and all of a sudden you're on a national stage in front of tens of thousands of people every day?
Well, I didn't adjust quick enough, because Lombardozzi took me deep real quick. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but no, I think it all depends on who you are. I think and your upbringing. I was being from Maine. I'm sure they can tell you we don't get a huge crowds, but my junior and senior year we started to get some crowds, and then in the minor leagues, I didn't play a ton of minor league games, but you kind of get a little bit prepared for it. But I don't know if there's anything that can totally prepare you for the big league game. It's a different level of baseball, and I think you just feel different on that stage. The camera's on you. You know that everybody from your grandmother to the kid down the street is watching you. So it's pretty exciting, and I think that if you get overwhelmed quickly if you don't have the right support system and can get in your head. But man, these kids nowadays sure are doing it right.
Yeah. So what is it like, growing up watching these guys on TV, and then all of a sudden you're now facing them, right? It's like, as kids growing up watching baseball all the time, falling in love with these guys, these idols that are untouchable. Now all of a sudden you're by yourself on the mound facing the guys you've been watching. What does that feel like?
It's crazy. I was kind of starstruck, to be honest with you. I remember even with guys on my own team. Like I remember when I signed at the University of Miami, Ryan Braun was going to the University of Miami, so I got to know him a little bit on my recruiting trip. And he gets drafted 2 years after me by the Brewers. So as a first rounder, then he had a great spring training, gets to the big leagues quick. And Giovanni, same idea, got to the big leagues quick. And even though they weren't established big leaguers when I met them, by the time they got to the big leagues, I was already starstruck by them, because I was a fan of baseball first, for sure. So, and I just remember that feeling of being in awe, kind of like, wow, you're doing exactly what I want to do. Like you're living my dream right now. So, trying to get as much information from them as possible, and pick their brains, and try to get into their routine and figure out how they click and what makes them so great. Because man, some of those guys are impressive to watch. I remember my very first year, I got invited over to a big league spring training game, and Pujols was in the lineup, and I was like, I'm looking over there like, I hope he's in the game. I want to face him so bad, just to say I faced him. But it'd be really cool to say I got him out. But he came out of the game before I got to face him. But I remember just him, as I'm in the bullpen watching this spring training game, being like, holy shit, that's really him. You know what I mean? Like,
right, for sure. Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it. It was so, and then to try to compare myself on that level with him, like, okay, well, I'm here too, and I hope to get to that level someday, and then just watching the way he executed, he looks so. They call him the machine for a reason. I remember just watching his routine to get ready to hit in the on deck circle, at the plate, and in spring training, as you guys know, they accentuate everything a little bit. They're really going through the routine extra hard and really trying to grind in and get on that day-to-day grind. So it was cool to watch and inspiring.
That's awesome.
So Mark, take us through a day in the life. It's a game day for you. You're pitching. What does your routine look like on a day game, or sorry, on a game day?
Okay, yeah, no, on a game day, I would get up and try to get some breakfast in, and nothing early. I'm normally up by like probably 9 or 10 in the morning. So because the night before, you're pitching and you're not doing much. You're hanging out in the dugout. You're watching the game, and normally it's a 7:00 game, so you're not getting home till midnight, 1:00 in the morning after you eat dinner and everything. So by the time you crash in, it's 2, 3:00 in the morning. So you're up. I was up by 10, doing to get something to eat, and then I'd relax and put on Sports Center, watch the. I was a huge Sports Center guy. I'd always watch the highlights from the game the day before,
Yep.
with breakfast, and then a lot of my roommates that I lived with would take off, go to the field, be there at 1:00. So as a starting pitcher, you didn't have to be there till 4 or 5:00. They said they wanted us there at least 2 hours early. So I'd get there about 4:30, 2 or 3 hours early before the game, and so it is nice to have a little time to yourself before the game in an empty house to reflect or go through your mental process, because I think that's, like we're talking about, is as big a part of the game as anything. And so have some quiet time before the game, whether I'd read or after, or check up on my friends, text message my buddies, and then get to the field around 4, and I'd start my pregame warm-up stuff. Then I'd go meet with a trainer, get some heat put on my shoulder to get it going in the right direction, and ride the bike while I was heating up. And then I always ran 1 mile before I pitched. It made me feel like I was loose and ready to go. So, and after my first surgery, I knew that it wasn't like I could just pick up the ball and chuck it anymore at 100 miles an hour. I needed to get the body ready, and the more after the hand surgery, and the more stuff that I went through, the harder it was, I think, to get going. So I'd always leave myself plenty of time to after the run to go meet with the trainer again, and he'd stretch me out, and they'd give you one of those real good massages that you'd probably have to pay. I don't even know what you'd pay for one of those things, but something that wouldn't be justifiable to the wife, I'm sure. And make you feel real good before you went out there and threw your first ball. So before every game, I'd probably take about 2 hours just preparing to throw before I got out there and then started throwing. But as a tribute to these teams now, and all the people they have there, it truly takes a village, I think, to make these teams work. And it starts right there, and I think in the training room, getting those guys out there to play 162 games in 180 days or whatever it is, 175 days is crazy. So I think the training staff, deserves a ton of credit for just getting the guys out on the field every day. For the fans to appreciate them, and for the players to appreciate them, I think is important, because we all go to the games wanting to see, Machado. I was watching the Red Sox game today. We all want to see Machado and Tatis play and Bogarts play every day. So, and that's a tough thing. That's a tough task to do when you're traveling around the country like those guys. So I think the training staff deserves a heck of a lot more credit than they get.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Michael Sarna says, welcome to watching from Nashville. Good to see you, Mark.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So I always ask this to former players that we have on. Who was there one guy that you saw, you're like, all right, I own this guy. And then is there another guy on the flip side where you're like, oh shit, here we go. Like, no matter what I throw, this guy's going to hit it 400 feet.
It felt when I was in AA, Mike Stanton was in Jacksonville. He was still with the Marlins at the time. And I remember our staff had faced him, and I hadn't had a chance to face him yet. But he was crushing us. And I felt like everything we threw up there, he was hitting. I remember sitting in the stands watching. I remember sitting in the dugout watching. And I was like, this guy just is raking everything. And I pitched against him. And he didn't take me deep, but I didn't have a ton of success. We couldn't get him out either. So I think Stanton at the time was one of the guys that I was like, I really didn't want to face. And then as far as someone that I was like, oh, I felt comfortable facing them. Andrew McCutcheon, for some reason, I felt comfortable facing him. I threw a ton of sinkers, and I think he was a guy who liked to get his arms extended.
Yep.
So it was a comfortable at bat for me and an uncomfortable at bat for him. So it was one of those kind of things.
Nice. Yeah. How did Stanton look in the box? I mean, the dude's a beast too. Like, I mean, was he very imposing in the box?
He was a big guy and absolutely shredded. It was like, what do you do to look like that? And he could hit the ball 500 feet. So you're like, yeah. I grew up around lobstermen my whole life who work out every day pulling lobster traps. So I've seen some pretty impressive physiques, but that guy was on another level.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Wild.
Yeah, definitely wild.
Yeah. So Mark, so on the other path, is there batters get hit, it happens. Was there ever a guy you plunked that you genuinely felt sorry for? Like you really didn't mean to go get him and he's the guy you liked?
Yeah, definitely. Same idea. We were in Jacksonville, Florida facing Stan's team. And I threw a 97-mile-an-hour two-seamer and it kind of rode in and up on him and it got him right in the bottom of the elbow.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my, it hit him on the funny bone. And he just went down like I shot him with a gun. And I felt so terrible. I was like, that's got to hurt. Because he said, you got me on the funny bone. You got me on the funny bone. I remember the next day they threw at us again because they thought that it was, I don't know if they thought it was intentional or if it's just how bad it was. But man, did I feel bad. I felt so bad because it wasn't intentional and we were getting thrown at because of it. And this poor kid's elbow blew up to the size. He was a good prospect and his elbow blew up to the size of a watermelon. I was like, oh, geez, here we go. But no, it happens. It's part of the game.
So that's why he has elbow troubles now because Mark Rogers hit him with a fastball. Got it.
Yeah,
Mark started it.
Yeah. All right. So you make your starts in the major leagues and I mean, it must have been such a surreal experience for you just that entire time. Other than Gallardo, was there another guy in the clubhouse that you got really close to and was it just was the entire team incredible or how was the camaraderie in the clubhouse?
We were really lucky in Milwaukee. The camaraderie was great. We had good leaders from Prince Fielder in 2010 when I was there to Ryan Braun. A veteran presence on the pitching staff was Trevor Hoffman in 2010 when I first got there. He can't be overlooked, that's for sure. First ballot Hall of Famer and great person. He was the leader of the clubhouse and he really made you feel comfortable. You could tell he was a guy who'd been around the game for a long time. He didn't let you disrespect the game in any way, but he really made you feel comfortable, made you feel at home, and had your best interest at heart. And then Randy Wolf was another guy who'd been around the big leagues for a long time, who could kind of tell you the ins and outs of it. And again, a guy who didn't throw real hard, but found a way to pitch in the big leagues for a very long time. So there was a lot to be learned from him. And then obviously Trevor at the end of his career was probably throwing mid to high 80s maybe with that really ridiculous changeup. So it was fun to learn from those guys.
Yeah.
What is that like in the clubhouse, Mark? We've talked about it on the show many times and asked other guys' opinions, but how does the discipline and all that happen from the veterans down to the young guys? What is that clubhouse experience like?
I think it's great. I'm a big guy on respecting the game. The game definitely didn't owe me anything, and I got a lot out of it. So I wanted to give back as much as I could. So I wanted to, follow the protocols and be in the good graces of the baseball gods. That's for sure. So yeah, I think every little you get superstitious. I think, and then every little bit matters when you're there. Every little advantage you can get matters. So I just try to do it, the way the veterans taught me how to do it. And I think Trevor was cool because he wouldn't accept it any other way. It was gonna be done the right way, or it wasn't gonna be done at all. And Randy was the same way, and they instilled that in Giovanni Gallardo, and me, and John Axford was another guy who was there at the time who had a really strong career, went over and signed with Oakland, and threw the heck out of the ball. Was a good closer in Milwaukee for a while after Trevor too. So I was fortunate to have a lot of young guys that I played in the minors with in the big leagues that were very, very comfortable with the veterans, and then it allowed me to have a good foundation of a friendship and so of a relationship with the veteran guys through my friends in the minor leagues, and then the rest of it was just pretty seamless.
That's cool. I got a couple of things. Baseball history dork says, I love this part when I asked you who are you good against, who were you not good against? you hear names you wouldn't expect. And then John goes, did Randy Wolf give a lot of good insights with an ump for a brother?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, his brother wasn't up, and yes, he did give a lot of good insights. He knew. He would warn me before games. We'd have pictures of the umpires up, who was at home, who was at first, at second, and third, and he would tell me straight up, hey, I know you don't know this guy, but catch the ball and get back to the mat and pitch it. He's like, don't give him the hairy eyeball. Don't question balls and strikes. You will pay for it. Like, you as a rookie, they will call you out. They're not, and they don't think everybody's here to see you or them. They don't think you're bigger than the game. So, and they may have missed it. So don't try to show up the umpire at all. Or you will pay for it. So Randy was really good in that respect, and I think he has a really good relationship with his brother too. What a cool relationship! What a cool story that is. Two brothers. One's an umpire and one's a big league pitcher forever. It's pretty neat. But yeah, wealth of information between the two of those guys.
That's cool.
I remember his brother.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I remember Randy's brother doing a game for us in spring training because he wasn't allowed to do regular season games because his brother was on the team. But I remember him doing a spring training game with us, and it was kind of like having another player on our team on the field. It just made you feel a little bit more comfortable because he was, just like you and I talking right now, which is pretty cool. I found that to be one of the most rewarding parts of playing in the big leagues and meeting all those people that I was in awe about or starstruck by, was the fact that they were just like you and I. They didn't think they were any better than the rest of us, which was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's been kind of the big eye opener for us doing this show is like, I mean, we've idolized these guys for our whole life, right? Because you guys got to live a dream that we didn't quite get to, right? We didn't get the opportunity, you guys did, but like everybody we've had on is willing to share their story and say the same thing you just said, is just like, we're just guys. We were just really good at something. That's all. And it's really cool to hear.
Yeah, and I just think that so many of us feel fortunate to be put into the situation we're in, and lucky. I think luck has a lot to do with it. I mean, whether somebody gets hurt and you get your opportunity to get there, or somebody's bad luck is your good luck, or whether you just have good luck and can get there on your own. It still comes down to a very small number of people getting to do a really, really, really cool thing, and I don't think anybody really takes it for granted, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. So we have Derek Miller says, watching from Pelham, New Hampshire, hearing you talk is bringing me back to good old minor league days.
Oh yeah, I played minor league baseball with Derek for a while. He lived with me in spring training in Phoenix, and we have a really good relationship. He went to the University of Vermont, was a left-handed pitcher there, and ended up tearing his minor. But he had a good run in the minor leagues and got into some big league spring training games, but ended up getting hurt. And what you see so frequently from these pitchers, or we saw so frequently from those pitchers for a while, this guy's getting hurt. But yeah, great pitcher, and those lefties, man, they get it done.
Fastest way to the majors, it seems, right?
It sure does. If you're a lefty who can throw a fastball and has a breaking pitch, you sure do have a good chance.
Yeah, when my son comes in, I'm only putting the ball in his left hand. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah, force left-handed.
Yep. All right, so we kind of get back into what happens after 2012. So we're hanging on to the minors a little bit, hoping to kind of get back to the majors. Just didn't quite work out. What kind of happened in there? I kind of just run it through there.
Well, I signed with Seattle after 2012, and I got in a car wreck. I got hit by a young kid in spring training. So I missed most of spring training, and then tried to come back with their AAA team to the Tacoma Rainiers during the year, and I just wasn't myself. I wasn't throwing the ball really well, and ended up getting released from Seattle. No one played independent ball in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for the rest of the year. Had a pretty good season there, but I had a fastball and wasn't really throwing much of a breaking pitch at the time. So I needed to get signed again, and went to the Texas Rangers workout and ended up getting signed by them, going to spring training with them. And I had an okay spring training. Just I didn't get a lot of opportunity to pitch, and when I did pitch, I wasn't that great. And then went and played for the Long Island Ducks for a little bit, and realized that my family at the time, I have 2 kids, and I was like, well, I don't see another comeback in the future. So I decided to pack it up and want to take care of my kids and try the dad thing.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. But
Yeah. So how old were you when you decided to pack it up, Mark?
29.
Okay.
At 30. Yeah, I think that off season. So my birthday is in January, so that off season when I was 29 and 30, I decided that was enough for me.
so you came back home to Maine and kind of got into a little bit of coaching there. What are you doing now?
Oh, now, I love coaching. I do lessons with the little kids. I volunteer at the local high school. And then I lobster fish other than that. And that pretty much fills my day.
Hey, gotta love it. That's the that's the main life, lobstering right there.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I'll tell you what, I tell people all the time. I got to play baseball. I got to play a kids game and make money at it. And now I get to go fishing every day. So I'm the most lucky person you'll ever meet.
Yeah, that's pretty dang awesome. But yeah, I want to thank you personally because like I said before, like you and the other three guys like coming out of Maine, like really started to put Maine on the map for baseball and kind of opened up eyes around the nation, just being like, wait, there is talent in this state. Like, why aren't we exploring it? For someone that would have loved to have gone further than I did, it was really cool to follow you and Charlie and the other two guys like through there and really grab a hold of the entire state. And the whole baseball world was kind of following you out of Maine and watching your career. So I just want to thank you for that. It's pretty cool.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I don't deserve any thanks. I think Cooper Flag is kind of experiencing it right now on another level because he's at that superstar level. But it's like when you're from Maine, you have such great support behind you. Because I think a lot of it is because there haven't been a ton of people come from here and get to experience those things. So there was no animosity amongst my friends. There was no weirdness amongst the public. I felt supported and like everybody was behind me my entire career. And I think that Cooper Flag's going to experience the same thing being from a small town in Maine. Is the support from the community is overwhelming. Everybody really has your best interest at heart and really wants to see you succeed. And I think that he being inspirational is something that we're going to see out of him. And I hope it's not just in basketball. I hope it's in baseball and hockey and every sport and soccer, because you can make it from Maine. You don't have to be Cooper Flag to make it, or Mark Rogers or Ryan Flaherty or Ryan Reed. But I think nowadays with, they're going to find you anywhere. And he's just another example of being a superstar who can make it being from Maine. But there's also a lot of other kids who deserve the opportunity as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always amazing to me how small the baseball community really is. Because I remember we'd roll into tournaments in Connecticut and Rhode Island and even down into Pennsylvania, and you kind of look around and go, okay, like who's here? Hey, is that Jeffrey Allison kid from Peabody here? Is
Right.
Andy Gale from New Hampshire here? Hey, is that Rogers kid from Maine here? You kind of scan the team lists and rosters to see if like some of the guys you were hoping to run across would be there. And you were a name, Mark, that although we never played you, never faced you, when we went to tournaments or things like Legion Ball or even travel baseball, it's always kind of a matter of like, hey, there's a team from Maine here. You think that Rogers kid is here? It was a name that everybody kind of in the baseball community was aware of, only because the performance was legend.
Oh, thank you very much. I was extremely fortunate to be able to throw the ball the way I was able to. I play softball now quite a bit, and I can't throw it like I used to.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate the days when I could. So thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, Cody Lawyerson for the Twins
yeah.
is currently from Maine right now, so he's on a roster. So that's cool.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
The more Maine guys I see get there, the happier I get. There's a lot of good baseball here. I mean, Ed Flaherty's had a great team down at USM in Division III for a very long time. They compete every year for championships. So
yeah,
there's a reason they're good ball clubs around here.
Well, yeah, and Vanderbilt's created quite the recruiting pipeline into Maine now.
Absolutely, they sure have. Yeah, they sure as heck have. And I think Ryan Flaherty kind of got that started for them, and they've done nothing but have success since then.
Yeah. The coach says like, you'll understand why I have those kids on my team, because you don't understand like the type of weather they play baseball in. He's like, I want those tough-nosed kids on my team.
It's a tough kid up here.
Yeah, you got to want to play. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Maine baseball's different, man. It's brutal.
Yeah, you might be shoveling snow in the morning so you can play that afternoon, but you get it done.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mark. This was absolutely incredible. Jose Romero says hi to you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. So thank you so much for joining us and telling us about your story. It was really, really cool to hear it firsthand, and really appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate your time even more. Thank you guys so much. It was nice to relive it and get back into talking some baseball.
Anytime, man. You're welcome. Just send me a
Always.
message. You're always welcome.
Oh, don't say that. I'll bother you guys too much.
Nope, no such thing. You can't
not
bother us.
possible. You know what? You know what, Mark? We dare you to try.
But really appreciate it, man. Take care.
Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time. Have a great
See you,
night.
Mark. Thanks.
All right, see you.